guys, we are North Road. We've got
John,
who plays.
drums.
I'm Jordan. I sing.
I'm Lucas and I play bass.
We've just released our new song and music video, River. It's doing pretty well. We're really proud of this one. So check it out when you get the chance.
Beautiful, boys. Thanks for joining us tonight. Good to speak to you again.
Yeah, you too, man.
As you mentioned, North Road released your latest single, River, earlier this month. So how's the reception been for it?
It's been really, really good. I think it's like the best received song we've ever had in terms of just the way our audience is engaging with it. Like people are, telling us their own takes on, what the meaning of the song is, and people seem to really resonate with it. And, that emotional resonance as a songwriter is something you really strive for. And so it's really good to see that reception.
Yeah, cool. So we'll get to the song lyrically in a second, but tell us a bit about the song from a musical point of view and what you were going for with it.
Yeah, so I suppose like the interesting thing about the song is that like we probably started writing it like, well over a year and a half ago now. So it's gone through a lot of different iterations, but I think we were really coming out of like the last EP. The first EP we did, Panic, and then the single we released at the end of last year, I Watched You Fade Away. We really kind of just wanted to hone in on like what our particular strengths were and just kind of just go 100% with it. So I think with this one, we were really just trying to look at what like worked in the past and how we can kind of like fine tune that to really hone in on like the best parts of our sound and really kind of like push that as much as we could.
Yeah. So lyrically, the song is an honest reflection of where a person's trauma stems from and dealing with it. So can you elaborate on that a bit more for us?
Yeah, so I think that like a lot's changed just like in our personal lives over the last year, and especially with the band and things moving and shaping and whatnot. And I think I've just like had a massive period of introspection about, how I've developed as a person. And I guess that experience of introspection is what kind of informed River lyrically. And, being like, well, I've got all these attributes as a person, some positive and some negative, but how did they manifest? How did we get to this point? And River is just kind of documenting that journey of trying to come to terms and understand what makes you up, what makes you who you are as a person.
Oh, and outlining real human emotions and problems seems to be a bit of a recurring theme for North Road, following last year's debut EP, Panic, which outlined different stages of a panic attack. So is that always going to be a focus of the band, focusing on real issues like that, or is it just sort of just phase?
I think that always like songwriting for us has always come from a place of catharsis. So it's like, we never try and just like write a song just for the sake of it or put lyrics in there for the sake of it. Like, even if we are kind of splicing bits and pieces together, it still comes with a lot of intention and purpose. The reason that we all got into music was because it's an incredible outlet for all of us and always has been. So it's like, everybody goes through different things. So like for this, for us, like our way of sort of understanding ourselves and going through that has just been writing and, honing our craft as much as we can.
I think we want to be like as vulnerable as possible with our audience. I think that that's something that is very true to us that we don't really want to lose sight of and especially in this scene that we have, I think that there is a bit of a stigma of this bravado and hypermasculinity that's kind of starting to fade away a bit, but we definitely just want to stay true to who we are and let our audience know that like it's okay to be vulnerable and to be emotional, and know that dealing with these things is a natural part of the human experience, and you don't have to be like alone in that or be quiet about that. And that's something that we find really important to let our fans know.
And I think especially with River, like the one part that really kind of always stuck out to me in terms of like the lyrics and the whole theme around the song is that it's like it's not just about understanding, but it's about kind of like continuing to move on with that as well. So it's I think at least one thing that I've the one thing that I've sort of really take away from the song is that whole thing is like, you're crossing a river and you kind of forget halfway through that you can stand. Like you forget you kind of have the toolkit to be able to move forward as it is anyway. So kind of looking back into the past and looking at the things that have shaped you and, sort of for good and for bad, moving on and kind of using that to fuel, what you want to do.
I got to say, mate, you boys have grown up a hell of a lot since last time we spoke. This is awesome.
Thanks, man.
Very mature outlook. I'm loving it.
Thanks.
No worries. So these songs are obviously written from a personal perspective. So personally, has it helped you at all sharing these feelings through songs?
100%. I think that like at least from like a songwriting standpoint, I think that you can absolutely go with the approach of just writing songs that are fun and that make you happy, and you know, that people like to jump or mosh or dance to and stuff, and that's perfectly fine. There's no problem with that, and we definitely have those songs and definitely those feelings in mind when we write. But like Lucas was saying about catharsis, it's like that's something that is very, very like special to us and important to us. And I think that as a band, we have a very strong message, and we want to continue to share that message. That doesn't mean that in the future we won't just write straight up bangers that don't really have like a super intense subject matter. But for now, I feel like we have this hunger to kind of speak about these things because they are true to us. And as a songwriter, like, it's so important that if that's something you're dealing with and that's something that you're feeling, that you're able to transform that into something beautiful, because I think that that beauty is like something that people really connect to, and we've seen that a lot. So I think we're doing like the right thing, and it's a good indication of the fact that we're doing the right thing. But yeah.
Has somebody slipped a Valium into John's drink? Because I've never seen a drummer so quiet in my life.
No, when you guys talk about lyrics, I sort of zone out. It's not really my I'm not one of the lyricists in the band, so I'll let the boys sort of speak it. There's no point in me talking.
No worries. So we mentioned before, but you released a single, I Watched You Fade Away, late last year. So are that song and River part of a bigger album picture, or are they just standalone singles?
So I think that like I Watched You Fade Away at the end of last year was kind of capping off that era of our music. So like obviously one of the biggest things for us has been consistency. And, you know, after Panic, we really wanted to follow it up with something else to tie people over until we kind of came together collectively and thought of like a new era or a new direction that we wanted to go in. So yeah, we capped off the end of the year with I Watch You Fade Away, and now River kind of marks this new beginning. But yeah, they are in separate camps, so to speak.
Right, but River's going to be part of a bigger picture?
Yeah, definitely.
There's definitely a bigger picture in the works.
Right, and then is that an indication of what the rest of the EP or album is going to sound like?
I think like with the last EP, we kind of like we felt that the cool thing about Panic was that it kind of we were able to bring out every sort of aspect of our sound. You know, we've sort of spoken about the cool thing about Fade Away was the fact that it kind of encapsulated everything, but you don't get to bring out everything in every song, so to say. Like, you know, you kind of want to have those softer moments and the heavier moments and the more anthemic moments. So that's something we really liked about Panic. With this sort of, with the next batch of songs, we really wanted to like do that, but just way more like fine tuned, like really look into like, you know, how did we make that heavy song, you know, good? Like, or like, you know, like how can we make a melodic song that doesn't feel like it's the total melodic song, but more so like an authentic representation of just like, you know, how we're feeling and what we want to write. So I think like, because our influence is so like eclectic and come from like such a range of different places, like naturally we always end up bringing in a bunch of different influences and like ending up on, you know, heavy song, softer song, all that kind of stuff. But it's never like a purposeful thing. It's kind of just like, you know, we go in, we write, and that's kind of what comes out, because that's, yeah, just what feels right to us.
And you guys have all known each other for a while, starting out jamming to Metallica covers in the garage as kids. So how did that progress from there to where you are now?
It was a bit of a slow grind. Yeah, no, it was about time I answered one. It was a bit of a slow grind. I think as soon as like Geordie sort of joined the band, that's where we started really taking ourselves seriously and started actually focusing on like doing like really like focusing on doing our own music and sort of like that all stuff. But I think the Metallica covers were probably a really good start to getting us into that heavier sort of style. We all had a mutual love for Metallica, so it really helped. And once Geordie joined the band, we got to see like a lot more different sides of like how we can really shape our sound. Like, because Geordie came from like a pop sort of background, so for like three Metallica heads, that was like so new to us. So I think it really gave us that different sort of aspect, and that's when we started really diving into more, like taking ourselves a bit more seriously and diving more into that new sound that you hear now.
And it has taken a long time because it's like, we've kind of grown up together in that sense. Is like, we're not just like four people who play music together. We really have sort of been through every step of the process together. And, as each piece of the puzzle kind of clicks together, it's like, oh, right, like that's what it is to be an artist. But we've gone through every stage of that together. So it still has that. I guess the cool thing is that we still have that like feeling that it's like, obviously there are harder days than others, and like there's obviously a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes, but we still have that like mutual love, for the music, and just love for just jamming out in a room together and hanging out, because that's how we started. That's where we are now. Like, we're in that sense, we're still very much in the same place that we were 6 years ago, but with a well-honed work ethic, probably worked out a bit more of what it actually means to be a musician now. I feel like, especially with this single and moving forward, we really kind of clicked into place of what it meant to be an art. That was just kind of like, having a proper vision for everything and everything being intentional. So, like coming down to, like Jordan really stepping up with the visual direction for like, press shots and videos and stuff like that. Like in the past, we kind of just went in, we're like, we want a cool video, or like we just want to like wear our best clothing for the press shots. But now it felt very intentional, like, and I felt like personally that was kind of like a big piece of the puzzle that we were missing for a long time. It kind of felt like that. Obviously we have so much more to learn and we're learning more every day, but that felt like probably the last major sort of piece of the puzzle that went into place, that kind of, looking at the success of the single so far, it does make sense, because it does kind of feel like the culmination of 6 years of work. And just, because it was the first few years was just beating our head against the wall, being like, we put out a song, why is no one listening? But you got to go through that for years to kind of understand, well, why would people pay attention to your music? Like, what is it that actually gets people interested? Like, who knew that you had to actually have organizational skills to be a musician? All that kind of stuff.
And I know it's only hasn't been long, guys, because he's only officially started back in February 2022. But is the music scene everything you thought it would be so far?
I think like, oh, you want to?
Nah, you go. No, please, you go.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely, when you're just starting out, and even before you start out, you have these preconceived notions of what it is to be a musician and to be in a scene. And I think to a degree it's been very, very interesting, because around us we've gotten to know so many other bands and so many extremely talented people, that I feel like we are becoming this own microcosm of the scene. And so it's just surrounding us. So it's kind of difficult to step out of that and look at it as like, is it all we thought it would be? Because we're just in it.
We're in it, yeah.
100%. But it's a really good feeling. And like, we've met some amazing people, and people that we never thought we'd meet, and people that, we looked up to before we started. And that's always exciting, and it always sets a fire under you to see how talented they are and what they're doing. And there's this mutual like motivation there to always do better. And so that's how we kind of know we're in the thick of it now, is because we're looking around us and we're looking at all these amazing things that our peers are doing, and we're like, okay, we got to work hard, we got to really work for this. And that's a really good feeling, and playing with other bands is always super, super cool.
And I think like, it is true when people say like all musicians are fans at the end of the day. Like, we were the like biggest fanboys of, all the big Australian bands, and like, like we grew up, listening to all the podcasts, watching all the Parkway documentaries, it is super inspiring, because I think Australia is so isolated from the rest of the world that like it is super inspiring to see like how I suppose the scene has like come together and created this kind of like like this sort of like machine in itself, I suppose. But it's super inspiring to those bands that like that really like break through into international markets because, you know, we really appreciate now how hard they've worked. Like, obviously, you know, when you're watching the Parkway documentaries, like you're seeing like all the blood, sweat and tears that goes into it. But like, I think now, especially like it's so much more, it's so much different even still, but it's definitely inspiring seeing those bands because you really you really do see how hard they work for it. And, we're only just like scratching the tip of the iceberg ourselves with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So what's next for North Road, guys? You seem like a band with a plan. What do you got planned next?
I think we're just going to be trying to. I think we want to play interstate by the end of the year. That's a big goal of ours. We'll see how we go. We're really hoping that we can get out there, but I feel like we've gigged as much as we can in Melbourne, and I think it's about time that we have like show fans interstate like what we've been doing. So, and we are seeing people interested. So there is definitely something out there. So we're just really keen to, get out there.
I think it's super cool because we have, I feel like the first time in a long time, we have kind of the rest of the year kind of booked out with stuff that we're not really able to announce yet. But we've got a lot in the works. And I think as well, like, the main reason we kind of held off until 2022 to really go hard was because it took so many years before that to kind of work it all out. But our goal was from 2022 onwards to just have a consistent stream of music, have newsworthy things happening all the time. And just like, you know, once we, you know, put the keys in the ignition, we don't really want to slow down. So, yeah.
Good to hear. All right, guys. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. You're a true inspiration, guys. Like I say, the growth in you guys from now to when I first spoke with you it's immense. So keep up the good work, guys. You're definitely under something.
Thanks very much, man.
Take a look in the mirror. Is the clarity clearer? So I